What's going on, workforce? Brian here for Work to Game. I hope you're having a good day. I know that I am. So let's talk about some PvP. Okay, so the current state of PvP in the world of Final Fantasy XIV is this mixed bag of tricks. There's a sense of joy and enjoyment that I get out of it, but there's also the sense that, man, it could be so much better. So this all stems from this past week. We tried to get a group together, 4-man, had the ratio, tried to go into the Feast 4v4, waited and waited and waited. Now the average time said 5 minutes, and eventually it crept up, and so at some point I was like, well, I wonder if there's a bug. Pulled ourselves out, went back in, said average wait time 5 minutes, waited and waited and waited. And then eventually we're like, okay, fine. We're going to go check out some other things. We're going to go run the front lines, and had a really good time with that. But the main, we really wanted to do 4v4 Feast. We really wanted to practice it. And this is where we ran into just hurdle after hurdle after hurdle. So the first hurdle was we tried to get a custom game together, and it's like, well, maybe we'll just do 2v2. And we tried to set that up, but we didn't meet the requirements. So it was still justifying like, hey, you need 4v4 and you need the right roles. So that was one challenge. That was one hurdle that I don't feel is necessary. I understand why it exists in the game today. And that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to talk to you guys about PvP. The other hurdle was, okay, well, there's 8v8. Let's go ahead and do that. That's more casual. It's less role restrictive, but it only allows for parties of 2 to queue up together in 8v8. So what we had to do is break up into 2 sets of 2 and queued in at the same time. And about 50% of the time, we were able to actually get into matches with each other, either on the same team or on different teams. Now, whether it's same or different, because we're all in voice chat, it was a lot of fun and incredibly enjoyable. But again, rolling that dice to be able to try to play together was a challenge. And that was the biggest hurdle out of all of what I've just described, is the ability to play together. In order for people to participate in the Feast and even Frontlines, they've got to level up through ARR and Heaven's Word to be able to take part in this content. And that's primarily one of the main reasons why I'm for a jump potion in Stormblood. Okay, so let's break down the 3 main pain points of PvP in Final Fantasy XIV. Number 1, having to reach max level to be able to participate. This in and of itself is the biggest roadblock in my opinion. To have to level and hit level 60 to now take part in content that is really kind of the separate world within the game. It seems like, and especially because all the PvE content that you're doing isn't really training you for PvP. You have specific PvP skills, you have all these various other systems that are in place in that system, as opposed to the leveling in the RPG and the story. And so hopefully we're going to see some changes with that. Number 2, actions and this PvP specific actions, but also bringing in the PvE actions, hyper bloated. There are just a ton of skills. And then again, like if you're now leveled up to 60, you need to learn these PvP skills that you really haven't been using or paying attention to. Plus, tank ability, especially anything that's doing anything with enmity, has no effect. It really has no place in PvP, and at least currently. Abilities like Provoke are completely useless. Your hate building combo, unless it's going to have some kind of debuff that's going to be applied to your target, isn't really going to have that huge benefit that you see like in PvE. And the current way that you set up custom games is a real disappointment. I'm glad they've got it. I mean, absolutely, it's a needed system, but just the difficulty in getting it set up and configured, it can stand to use a lot of changes. And so that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you guys about. There are my pain points. Let's jump into some ideas that I've got. So the current way custom games are set up, it needs a lot of work. Now, I'm glad they've got the system, but there are some improvements that I think that could be made that would make the experience more enjoyable, especially overall, and being able to bring in more players into the content. Now, there are a lot of rumors and various bits and pieces of kind of teases from interviews that have come out, and nothing's really official. So I don't want to sit here and say, hey, this is happening. I want you to know that this is what's somewhat being discussed, and this is my interpretation of what is being discussed. But there is some hope. There is some light out there, especially for fans of PvP. Now, I'm going to be focusing in on obviously the Feast content, the Frontlines content. what we currently have, and hopefully in light of what has been said, to hopefully bring in some conclusion. Now, I know there are fans out there who want open world PvP. I know they've talked about a large scale new PvP style system that's coming in with Stormblood, but we're going to put those to the side for now and just kind of focusing on Feast and Frontlines, and then what can be done to make those systems even better and go from there. The first thing we do know is that Yoshi-P has commented that PvP is going to be going under major revision changes with Stormblood. He hasn't detailed what those changes are, and that lends us lots of room for speculation as to what he could mean by it. But we do know that they said they're going to tell us before 4.0 launches what the changes are. And he also doesn't know if it's going to happen with 4.0 or if it's going to happen at some point after 4.1 and beyond. It just really depends, I guess, on the content schedule they are currently working with. But the concept that PvP is undergoing a massive change is exciting, and it plays into light with him talking about wanting to do custom PvP tournaments, having sponsored and kind of entering in the competitive space that a lot of games are participating in now is exciting. Because from that, if they want to really get competitive, if they want to bring in sponsors and they want to do their own tournaments, there's a lot of work they need to do. But he's been meeting with people from Guild Wars, he's been meeting with Blizzard, he's been meeting with these companies that are in this space to really get some information about what is right and wrong, and that should give us all hope, regardless if you're a fan of PvP. You could even enjoy watching it. And this comes from the latest interviews in which they talked about some of the most exciting things from FanFest is the PvP tournament and how they want to bring that out of FanFest and be able to offer that for the community. So a part of some of the rumored changes are that PvP is going to exist on its own level. It's going to allow access very early on. It's, like I said, one of the biggest gripes is that right now you got to get to 60. But if you look at like Palace of the Dead, if you look at the various content, they can easily bring you in, sync you up, give you the abilities that you haven't learned in PvE, and allow you to participate. And then if it's letting you participate in that content while at the same time leveling up just your character the way you want, it's a fantastic way for alts. It's a fantastic way for your first character if you're just primarily interested in doing the PvP of the game. Well, why not? Why not let you enter in? You'll learn your abilities over time anyway, and you can participate in that content. This would solve the issue with anybody who wants to come join me and my friends to go do PvP without having to level through 2 expansions and even potentially the third, Stormblood expansion to the game. But also, in my opinion, it's critical that if they allow access to PvP early on and they do sync you up, that you are getting that benefit. You're leveling through the game to have a level, capped character by just doing PvP. The thing is that PvE and PvP, they are so two different systems that when you do level all the way to 60 in PvE, that really doesn't even benefit you at all in PvP. So it's not like, oh, you need to do this so you learn those skills. It really, all that kind of gets thrown out the window because, especially from multiple characters, some skills just become completely useless. There's a huge amount of skill bloat, and that's kind of the next thing. So PvP as a system has a huge amount of skill bloat right now. We talk about it from the PvE perspective. We talk about it from going to 70 and how they're going to make all those battle system changes. But with PvP, hey, you're 60, and hey, here's all these abilities that are only available in PvP, and they have no effect on you outside of that. So now that you're at 60 and wanting to get into PvP, here's some new abilities that you need to learn. And oh, by the way, some of your abilities for PvE you really don't need, and they're completely useless, and they don't make sense. So throw this out. One of the things that we're hearing is that PvP might offer its own leveling path. It might offer its own set of skills so that as you level in PvP, you learn PvP type skills, and that the two are completely separate. So your PvE is your PvE, your PvP is your PvP. This could be a value, this could be definitely a benefit to the system overall. At the same time, I don't know, it could be very weird and detrimental, but we're just going to have to wait and see and learn more. Again, this is rumor from various interviews that have been gleaned from the community, but from my personal perspective, it would be really interesting if they were able to kind of really condense down those abilities. Thinking again onto that competitive aspect that Yoshi-P wants to hit and saying, okay, here are the 15 abilities that you are going to need to make sense, that your job is going to be unique for this role. You look at Overwatch, you look at some of these other very competitive games, they don't need to overwhelm you with 30 abilities to make your job fun. They just say, okay, what defines a Dark Knight in PvP? What's going to be the key, defining moment for that job? What defines a machinist in PvP? What are the key defining elements? And it could be even 5 or 10 skills, something that can be very easy, very competitive, and easier to balance in the long run. Job specific stuff could be very interesting. And hopefully if they're going to have hate-based skills for tank style roles, that's going to have some kind of effect. If you keep provoke, make it useful, make it have some kind of effect where the target that you've provoked for a little bit of time is going to be less effective against other jobs and more effective against the tank who provoked them, giving them incentive to go and actually attack the tank. If you're going to build up hate on targets, yes, make the other people less effective against everybody else and more effective against the tank. It makes that tank balance, risk versus reward, much more interesting. But that's just my opinion. Okay, and finally, custom games. I think some of the most fun that can be had is when you're playing with your friends, either with or against, in talking trash and taunting over voice chat. That's just me, but I think some of the changes to custom games, the first thing I would make is to be able to set up a custom game lobby, and then from the lobby be able to invite your friends, rather than the current party versus party system we have now, which makes sense because from a speed and development perspective it existed. But to be able to set up a custom game, from that custom game menu be able to invite the people that you want to participate, and then from there worry about job balance and team balance. So it's like, let's say you have 7 friends, you invite them in with you, you have 8 people. Then you can kind of see the names, and are they on fangs or are they on claws? And so then you can say, okay, well, let's move, you bounce over here, you bounce over there, bounce back and forth. You know what? You can change your job in that menu, because again, if PvP becomes its own system and it levels you up to the right level, even in custom games, it wouldn't matter. You should be able to just be able to pick varying jobs from that role and say, hey, I want to play a white mage today. Hey, I want to play a tank today. And that way you can kind of play around and have fun with balance. And also in a custom game, it really shouldn't matter if you want to roll all tanks versus all healers, which would literally be the longest game ever, because no one's gonna die and everybody's just gonna slowly wait out the timer. But that's neither here nor there. I think that improvement to the custom games would be a huge benefit overall, allowing you to access your friends list, your free company, your link shells, to be able to invite people in to have fun. But those are just my thoughts, and I really want to know yours. So do you currently PvP? And if so, what changes would you make? Do not PvP, and if so, what changes would you want to see made to make it even somewhat interesting to do so? Let me know in the comments below. I really want to have that discussion, and hopefully we're going to see some big changes. There's a lot that I'm excited for Stormblood. There's a lot we don't know, and this is one of them. Anyhow, for Work to Game, my name's Brian. This is Thoughts on PvP, the current state of PvP. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you have a fantastic week, and I hope to see you in my next video. But until then, take care. Hey, it's me. Thanks so much for watching this video. You should click here to subscribe, and here to maybe check out some more of our videos. So again, thanks for watching. We hope you like this video. We hope you subscribe and join our community. Let us know in the comments below what you think, and we'll see you next time.